Welcome back, Syndicate members. It is I, Joshua Mammoth, back once again to review another independent comic book. I picked this biscuit up at last year's Daytona Comic-Con at the Second Sight booth, where I was able to meet editor and COO Marcus Roberts. He mentioned to me that this particular title has been picked up and may get made into a series. So with all that being said, tonight's selection is titled These Damn Kids. Written and created by Peter Bro and Bradley Golden. Art by Helmut Racho. And let's take a few seconds and really enjoy this glorious cover. If you think there's a lot of mayhem being displayed, just wait till you see the inside. Alrighty, Syndicate members, let's dive in. On the flip, I was surprised to see another black and white, and I'm sure you'll agree that it's quite striking. Our story begins with Dad working out on his treadmill to some metal, while Mom tucks the kids into bed. Unfortunately, Mom forgot to check the dark corner of the room before leaving, and the children meet a new play friend, this creep. The kids wander out into the hall with a few handy kitchen utensils, like this meat cleaver or knife. And I know what you may be thinking about the forks, but remember that the Blue Raja, master of cutlery, was quite deadly with it. On the flip, we see a couple moving into their new home. While relaxing on the couch after a long move, Gary receives a 187 code on his pager. As we know from the Snoop Dogg song, Deep Cover means murder, and for our younger Syndicate members, a pager are little devices that receive transmissions. Most would beep, hence the term beepers, or vibrate to let you know someone wanted your attention. Now the twisted turn happens rather early, as we see this magnificent splash page complete with decapitations, and a bit of body parts redecorated. I'd also like to point out the fork, delicately placed in the eye of this decapitated head. Gary decides to excuse himself for a quick smoke while the team takes photographs. While outside, we learn that the police think the children were asleep during the murders and dismemberment. So Gary sends Levi, along with his partner, McIntyre, to interview the neighbors while he heads back to the crime scene. The page turn here revealed another glorious splash page with a close-up of the wall decoration. Let's take a few seconds here to really appreciate it. We know that the torso here is from the father, as we can see the same shirt from earlier. And that's when I noticed the cutlery was used to pin the parts to the wall. What a creative use of Grandma's holiday silverware. Once the coroner stops calling dinosaurs, he fills Gary in on the gruesome details. It seems that sometime between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., the victims were torn apart in a fashion that kept them alive up until the decapitation. Later that night, Gary, on his third pack of smokes, reveals a few details about the crime scene to Kelly, and informs her that the kids have been taken to the Sisters of Mercy. We jump ahead 17 days later in another home, where Mom and Dad are tucking the kids into bed for the night. Unlike the first house that we were introduced to at the beginning, there are several demons and spirits hovering above instead of one creep in the corner. Also, this time the kids actually lure the parents into the room, armed with a drill and a hammer. The next scene shows Gary once again having a smoke, while reading the newspaper. Now, for our younger Syndicate members, a newspaper is a printed publication, usually issued daily or weekly, consisting of folded, unstapled sheets, and containing news, feature articles, and advertisements, as well as correspondence. Kelly, on the other hand, is calling a few dinosaurs herself. We find out through a closed bathroom door that she's pregnant, And just as that happens, Gary receives another code 187 and has to head to another crime scene. At this crime scene, Gary walks into another massacre. The wall this time was decorated with a couple of tongues, fingers, eyes, and a nice flap of skin that really ties it all together. The lawn also had a few upgrades on another amazing splash page. Now, I'm not really a garden gnome guy, however these decapitated heads on the little gnome hats are quite breathtaking. Back at home, Gary finishes off another pack while laying next to his wife Kelly. While at the Sisters of Mercy, the orphan kids say their prayers with the nuns. The creepy dialogue and ominous black and white images really brings the horror factor up, especially on the last page. The final splash page showing all the children with various weapons, like this Rambo knife. And the narrative is even extra creepy. These children that come to you with their knives and meat cleavers, they're your children. The story ends with a "to be continued." Alright, Syndicate members, it's time for my special analysis on this show's book entitled These Damn Kids. First is what I like about this comic. Well, I definitely wasn't expecting another black and white, but it was quite well done with all the deep grays and creative use of white light. It also helped with the overall feel of the story and definitely added to the creepiness of the kids. Although I probably shouldn't mention it, I also like Gary's smoking habit. He was giving Post Malone a run for his money. Now, for our older Syndicate members, Post Malone is an American rapper who gained recognition in 2015 with the hit White Iverson. What I really liked about this comic was the architecture. And seriously, check out a few of these properties. The house of the first crime scene, Gary and Kelly's new place, the Sisters of Mercy, and the final crime scene. The detail work on these buildings was absolutely amazing. I also really liked the 1990s throwback with the pager scenes. The flow of the story was so well done, it got right to it without the filler, the way horror should be. On the last page, there's a Second Sight Publishing ad with the quote, "Everyone needs a little horror in their lives." And I certainly agree. Finally is what I loved about These Damn Kids. First was the magnificent splash pages. The title page was the first in a series of brilliant artwork, followed by the first murder scene all the way to the last murder scene, which was my particular favorite. Another point I loved was all the white narrative boxes were from Gary's perspective. This added a particular great view from his mind and thoughts on the murders. So all in all, this was a great horror read and leaves me hungry for the next issue. I'd like to thank Marcus for not only the recommendation, but also allowing me to review this book. All of Second Sight Publishing's information is down below, so make sure you check them out, pick up some titles, and tell them Joshua Mammoth sent you. If you're an independent artist and you'd like me to review your book, just shoot me an email at the email address listed below. Well, that's all I have for you this time, Syndicate members. Remember that between the known and the unknown lies the mammoth. I'll see you next time.